Hi everybody, this is Lindsay from windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to make the Desert Sunset Shawl rows 1 through 11. For this pattern, you're just going to need one cake of either the Lion Brand cupcake or the Lion Brand mandala. You will need a size H 5mm crochet hook and a pair of scissors. So to get started, we are going to make a slip knot, put our yarn on our hook, and chain 4. Then you will slip stitch to the very first chain in order to make a circle. We will be working the first row into this circle. So to do the first row, we will chain 3 and work 5 double crochet into that circle. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 4 double crochet, and 5 double crochet. Now we will chain 2. This is going to be the point of our shawl, and work another 5 double crochet into the circle. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 4 double crochet, and 5 double crochet. And that is the end of row 1. So for row 2, we will just chain 3 and turn our work. We will work 2 double crochet into the very first stitch. Your second double crochet is also in the first stitch of the previous row. Double crochet into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. We will skip the last stitch before the chain 2 space and then work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space of the previous row. So our second double crochet, we will chain 2, work 2 more double crochet, 1 and 2. We will skip this first stitch and work into the next 3 double crochet. Double crochet 1, our second double crochet, our third double crochet, and into the very last stitch we will work 2 double crochet or double crochet increase. Alright, and that is the end of row 2. For row 3, we will chain 3 and turn our work. Work a double crochet into the first stitch. Chain 1, and then work a double crochet into the next stitch. The chain 1 acts as our increase. Now we'll have the repeat of double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. Or I'll repeat this 3 times. So chain 1, skip a stitch and double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1 and work a double crochet into the chain 2 space. And you'll see our pattern or open stitch work here on this side. Chain 2 for the point. Work another double crochet into the chain 2 space. Chain 1, skip this first stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. And you'll continue that repeat of chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. chain 1, skip the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, and then work a double crochet into the very last stitch. Moving right along to row 4, we will start by chaining 3, turn our work, work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, double crochet into the chain space, and then double crochet into the next stitch. And you will repeat that until we get to the last stitch before the chain 2 space. So repeat it till we get to this chain space here. We are going to skip that very last stitch there. Double crochet in the chain space, double crochet in the next stitch. Work a double crochet into the last chain space, and then skip this double crochet and work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the point. So 1, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 more double crochet into the same chain 2 space, and then you'll work into the chain space, work into the next double crochet into the next chain space, and repeat that until we get to our very last stitch. Once you reach your last stitch, just do 2 double crochet into the very last stitch. And that completes your row 4. To start row 5, we're going to do the same as every row and chain 3, 2, 3, turn our work, work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, so that will be our double crochet increase, and then we will work 1 double crochet into the next 9 stitches. We'll skip the last double crochet and work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space. Chain 1, chain 2, work 2 more double crochet into this chain 2 space. And there's your point. And then we'll skip this first double crochet and double crochet into every stitch until we reach the very last stitch. When you get to your last stitch, you will just work 2 double crochet into the very last stitch. And that is row 5. Row 6, we're going to chain 3 again, Work 2 double crochet into the first stitch. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and in the following stitch you're going to work a cluster stitch. You'll pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull up another loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull up another loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. You'll have 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 4 of those loops. And that is your cluster stitch. You will chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work a cluster stitch into the following stitch. And you will repeat this until you're almost at the point. Chain 1 and work a double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, and then work another double crochet into your chain 2 space. Chain 1, and that is our point. We're going to work the next cluster stitch into this very first double crochet so that it mimics the other side. So a cluster stitch here, and we'll continue our repeat by chaining 1, skip the next stitch, and work a cluster stitch into the following stitch. And you'll do that until you reach the last stitch of this row. We'll end our repeat with a chain 1 and then work 2 double crochet into the very last stitch. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and that's the end of row 6. Row 7, we will start by chaining 3, turn your work, and work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, work a double crochet into your next stitch, and then we're going to work a double crochet into every chain space and the top of every cluster stitch across. So work a double crochet into the chain space, work a double crochet into the top of the cluster stitch, which I see as this kind of triangle right here when you pull open your cluster stitch. and then just keep repeating into the chain space and then into the top of the cluster stitch. You're going to double crochet into the last chain space on this side of the shawl, and then double crochet into the next stitch. Now we're at our chain 2 space, and we're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space. So here's our completed point, and then we're just going to mimic what we did on the other side in reverse. We're going to do a double crochet into the first stitch, chain space, and then the top of every cluster stitch and into every chain space across. So into that first stitch, and then start our repeat of into the chain space, and then into the top of the cluster stitch. And continue this until we reach the last stitch of the row. Double crochet into the last chain space, double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet into the last stitch of this row. 1 and 2. And that's that row. Chain 3 to start row 8. 1, 2, 3. Work 2 double crochet into the very first stitch. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work a double crochet into the following stitch. And you will continue repeating this across the row. Just chain 1, skip a stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. Skip the second to last stitch, double crochet into the last stitch before the chain 2 space. And for our point, we're going to chain 1, double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 1, and that will complete the point. And then our next stitch will be into the first stitch right after the chain 2 space. And then we'll continue doing our repeat where we chain 1, skip the next stitch, and double crochet into the following stitch. And you'll repeat that through the rest of this row until the very last stitch. and you will skip the second to last stitch and work directly into the very last stitch, and in our very last stitch we'll work 2 double crochet. And that completes this row. Row 9, we will chain 3, work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip the chain space and work directly into the next stitch. We will not be working into any of the chain spaces, only working double crochets into the stitches from the previous row. Chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, and repeat this until you reach the chain 2 point. Chain 1, double crochet into the last stitch before the chain 2 space. Going to chain 1, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 1 once more, and then to repeat what we did on the other side, we're going to start by double crocheting into the first stitch, chain 1, skip the chain space and double crochet into the next stitch, and continue repeating this until we reach the last stitch of the row. Double crochet into the second to last stitch, chain 1, and then 2 double crochet into the very last stitch of this row for our double crochet increase. And row 9 is complete. Row 10, we will start by chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 double crochet into the very first stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to double crochet into every chain space and stitch all the way across. So into the next stitch, into the chain space, and into the next stitch, and just repeat this until you reach the chain 2 space at the point. going to work a double crochet into the last few stitches before we reach our chain 2 space. This chain space and into the last stitch. And then for our point, we are going to double crochet twice, chain 2, double crochet twice again into this chain 2 space in the center. Double crochet once, double crochet twice, chain once, chain twice, and then 2 more double crochet into the chain 2 space. And on the other side, we're going to double crochet into every stitch and every chain space all the way down until we reach that very last stitch at the end. Once you reach the very last stitch, we'll double crochet into the second to last stitch and work 2 double crochet into our very last stitch. One and 2. And that's that solid row. Alright, row 11. Going to chain 3, work 2 double crochet into the very first stitch and double crochet into every stitch until we reach the chain 2 space. So 1, 2 double crochet, and then double crochet in every stitch across. At our last double crochet before the chain 2 space, and into that chain 2 space where we're going to work 2 double crochet, 2 chain, and another 2 double crochet. Chain 1, chain 2, 2 more double crochet, there's our point, and then along the other side we're going to double crochet in every stitch until the very last stitch. Alright, so we're almost to that last stitch. Just work our last few double crochets, and into our very last stitch we will work 2 double crochet. So 1 and 2. And that is it for row 11. Make sure to check out the next video for the next set of rows in this shawl.